Some of them have come from abroad. Some of them still wander on the streets of England almost every night. To many, their life is miserable, but most of them have dreams and strive for a normal life. Maybe sometimes they have just been forgotten. The silhouettes of people, fearless of being rejected, standing on the streets, not ashamed to sell a piece of hope for the upcoming day.
Some nights, when you're out and about, if you stay in the doorway, especially on a Friday and Saturday night, you get people walking past, like, when you sleep and kick you or punch you, or, I'm sorry to say this, but I've been peed on. You know, people just think, oh, let's pee on this homeless person.
England's homelessness crisis continues to grow. Since 2010, the number of people accepted as homeless has risen by a third. The main causes for people being left on the streets are the shortage of housing and the rising rents in recent years. The Big Issue, the most prominent street paper in England, was set up in 1991 in response to the massive amount of rough sleepers in London. It's amongst more than 100 street newspapers around the world, giving a chance for change to the homeless.
How it works now is somebody will come to us and show an interest in selling the Big Issue, or we will go out and do an outreach programme and recruit vendors. That person can be rough sleeping, living in a hostel, sofa surfing, overcrowded housing, anything that would be considered them to be in a vulnerable position and need to earn money. So that could be someone who's recently lost their job and now living in temporary accommodation. They come to us, they sign a code of conduct which details how they will behave as a vendor and how they will represent us. So basically they will not bring us into disrepute in any way. They're given a short code of conduct to sign, an induction to complete, which gets basic information off of them, and that's it. Then they're given 5 free magazines, a badge, which they wear around their necks, and somewhere to sell, a pitch. So generally, if they came to us in Coventry or Nottingham, we'd start them off in the city centre, where they were close to our distribution points and able to get more support, and then people may move out of town and sell in a more suburban area. They buy their magazines from us, so after the 5 free that they get, they buy them from us for £1.25 each. They sell them on the street to the public for £2.50. They're given a specific place to sell, so they can't just like walk up and down the street, sell anywhere they like. They can't sell on public transport or in bars or clubs or anything like that. It has to be on a public highway in a city centre or a town.
A normal day in Derby. Amongst the crowd, we can see Ricky. He's been a vendor for almost a year. He lost his job and flat.
Thanks, have a nice day, love. I was married and I was with her for 10 years. I was actually a qualified roofer and I was working that much. I was doing Monday to Friday. It was 5 o'clock in the morning, I got picked up, started working 6, finished at 9 at night, got home at 10, and then Saturday was 8 till 4, Sunday 8 till 2. I say I was with her for 10 years, but the love just disappears. It was a mutual agreement why we split up, because I was never there for her. You know, obviously I was paying all the bills, and then, like I say, we had a son, but it was a mutual agreement, we split up. I'll go into a hostel, and she kept all the house. Got to buy a Big Issue, be famous. Because I gave my home up, I actually lost my job as well, because they said you can't have it with no fixed abode. But I'm thinking, if I can get to work, you know, why do I have to lose my job? So then, as I say, I lost that, but then the company went bankrupt anyway as well. So then my mate told me about Big Issue. I started doing that, and ever since been doing that. Yeah. I do see my son now and then, you know, on a regular basis, but it's hard because I don't want him. He lives in Beeston in Nottingham, and I used to sell Big Issue there, but I didn't want him seeing me on the streets thinking, oh, that's my dad, you know, not a proud son. So that's when I thought, right, I'll move out at Nottingham, come to Derby, and started selling Big Issue here. Who would like to buy this week's Big Issue, please? I've been going to house associations around here, but it's just taking time. They put you on the list, and you're just like a number, you know. It's because obviously pregnant ladies get the first choice, but English people, like the age of me, we're at the bottom of the list. So we just got to wait.
A lot, at least speaking in the Midlands, a lot of services that some of the vendors that we work with used to use now no longer exist. And especially if you have mental health issues, which a massive proportion of homeless people do, it's harder for you to gain access to those mental health issues, and it's harder for you to gain access to help for your mental health issues. The waiting lists are really long, and I think that's just down to cuts, councils having to cut back, charities not getting enough funding and them having to cut back, and therefore cutting back on staff, which reduces the services, which ultimately affects individuals quite significantly. So I think that that's perhaps a factor. Also, things have gotten so much more expensive, people can't afford to live the way they used to live, and as a result I think that that's causing the new definition of homelessness, not so much rough sleeping, but people who are perhaps in temporary accommodation or sofa surfing, or living with a friend, maybe living in a hostel. Those people are still considered homeless but wouldn't even be counted on a homeless count that the council would do.
Being homeless, it's hard to get back into having your own place, but you've got to be strong-minded, because obviously you've got to pay all your bills. If you don't pay your bills, you're back on the streets. But just to get your foot on that ladder, just to get an interview for a housing place, it's quite hard. And then if they put you in a hostel, like when I was in Salvation Army, I'm sorry to say this, but I was getting bullied. It's not the people in there, it's when I got there, it's people hanging outside. As soon as you go there, try and take your money off you, and try and take your phone and things like that. So I'd wait until like 1, 2 in the morning to go back to the hostel, and I'd leave about 6 in the morning before they turn up.
Bianca and John come from Romania. Not being able to settle for a normal life in their home country, they found their way to escape to the UK.
I've been without a mother for a really long time. Like basically my dad and my mum, they got divorced when I was a baby. I've never ever met my mum, all I know is her name. Then my dad got married to another woman, which was really evil. I'll say more evil than Cinderella's mom. And when he moved to Spain with her, after a while, they decided, me and my stepsister, to move to Spain with them. And after Spain, things wasn't really going great, because as Romanian people, we usually don't really have normal jobs. And we do have bad reputation, but I don't want to be one of them. I don't want to have a bad reputation. And this is a job that I feel really comfortable with. Would you like piggies, please? When I first started, I was just a crazy kid. I didn't really know much. I had a kid attitude, which people loved it, and I realized they liked me, and I said, that's it, I'm keeping it up. I ain't giving up at all. And ever since then, all what I had to do, it was first a bit hard, because I didn't understand the English cultures. I didn't even understand that a girl and a boy can actually talk without being a boyfriend or a girlfriend. When I first started and boys want to shake my hands, I was like, I ain't shaking hands. It's my culture. It was like, we live in England. It's a different culture. After a while, I realized that everything was different, and it's in a good way.
We work with people of all nationalities. We largely work with Roma vendors who work, they live in overcrowded housing and they work as families. So they might, come down as a small family together, come to us, sign up to sell the big issue, and we will give them pictures and they'll sell out of town. They are in a very different situation. They are here because up until quite recently they could come to the UK, live in the UK but not work. So the self-employment route was the only option for them. And they have been so poorly treated in their own country that coming to the UK was one of the only options. And selling the big issue provides these vendors with the opportunity to earn money legitimately without having to stay in the desperate situation that they were in before.
In my country, we don't have jobs. We don't have any good jobs. We don't have any support very well. So obviously I'm from the countryside, I can't be supported very well. So obviously I need to be supported well in this country. Obviously if I want to go to someone's garden, I can do a lawn mowing or cut the grass, and obviously I can earn maybe 20, 30 pounds a day from them, obviously. But, you know, but in my country it's very difficult. First time when I come in Coventry, I didn't know my way to Coventry. I didn't know Coventry very well. And obviously I went to Birmingham, to the big issue Birmingham. That's where I come from, Birmingham office, obviously. And obviously I asked them, would you please help me to do a badge for me so I can sell some big issue, because it's very difficult for me to get a job.
Why?
I didn't know how to speak English very well. I didn't know how to say a word, you know, proper English. And obviously, if you don't know how to speak English, it's very difficult. Obviously you lost, you don't know where you are. But if you know how to speak English, you can get out from anywhere.
So a lot of people will come to us, you know, first time they've ever been to us, need to earn some money, will come to us with very low confidence. And then that same person, 6 to 12 months down the line, could potentially be our best seller, because they've been, you know, learning how to sell, learning how to engage with the public, talking to people, making connections, getting to know people.
If anyone's good at crosswords, I bet you can't do the one in the back. When you sell big issue, your confidence has to build. You know, because if you haven't got confidence, there's no way you can sell the big issue. Because you've got to ask people, but then in your mind, the public you ask, they think you're begging. You know, if you say to them, would you like to buy a big issue? Because a lot of the public think, you know, is it begging or is it, it's not a hand out, it's a hand up. You know, they help you. So a lot of people do say, yeah, you've actually brought it to sell it. You know, so it is kind of a job, but it isn't.
Why is it?
I don't know, if the public actually had a concept of knowing exactly what the big issue was about, they would understand. Like that programme was on telly the other day, Rich, Famous and Homeless, and that was quite good. But them 4 people who done that, they know in the back of their mind they're actually going home after a week. So they know, I'm going back to a nice warm bed. And like Willie Fawn, oh, I'm going to quit, I'm going to go to a hotel. We can't quit. We can't say, right, it's too cold or I'm too tired, I'm going to go to a hotel. We can't, so we have to put up with it. Whatever life throws at us on the streets, we've got to take it.
Our vendors have regular customers. We have a lot of supporters. You know, we have a wide circulation across the country. So there are a lot of people that support us and understand what we do as an organisation. But equally, there are more people that don't understand what we do. And I think most people believe that the vendors are just given the mags. They don't see it that these guys are having to manage their money, they're having to know exactly what they need the next day to be able to buy more magazines, to be able to continue the job. Like, it's not easy, like, having to manage that. If you think you can just go to work every day and you get paid at the end of the day, providing you do your job properly, and then that's it. But these guys, they need money to be able to start. And that's kind of teaching people money management and enabling people to be reintegrated into society.
You know when you say you don't like a food, you can't say it without you trying it. You don't know if you like it or not. So it's same with people. They don't know who we are, how we are, what feelings we have, unless they talk to us and we explain to them our story. So basically, if somebody wants to find a story, I'm always free to tell them my story. So unless they know it, they won't find out. So some people, they should talk to us if they think they have a problem with us, like because they think this is not a job. It is a job, and it's quite a hard one, because especially when you have to stand still, and plus you have to get permission for stuff that you have to do around here, And if it's raining or snowing, you're out here on it. And it's quite hard sometimes.
Like to buy a big issue, please. A lot of big issue sellers have been stereotyped as druggies and alkies and, you know, heroin and crack cocaine. We're not all the same. You know, I don't take drugs. There's a lot of people smoking, is it Mamba or something now? I don't even smoke that. I smoke cigarettes. As I say, I did drink a lot, but I only drink like now and then. And it's hard to stay out of that cycle.
British people, sometimes they get a bit angry why the European people come in the country, and obviously they work for sort of low money. Some of them they're starting to do business like big issue and stuff like this, and they do all sorts. But you know what I can tell you, it's not to do with you what we're doing, because we come here, we pay taxes, we pay gas, we pay electric, we pay all sorts. So obviously we work very hard. We risk every single minute for our life.
We should be supporting people to change their situation and go from where they are now, rough sleeping or homeless, whatever that definition of homeless is, to earning money and working, whether that's selling the big issue or doing something like, I don't know if you've heard about Change Please in London, the coffee cart. Anything that means that people take responsibility for themselves and earn money and not rely on handouts.
Well, ladies and gents, who would like to help the hopeless? I mean homeless. Who's going to have a laugh with me?
You know, people that are selling the magazine are in that position for a reason, like whatever that reason might be. But I think that at least that individual is taking the decision to improve their lives.
I earn enough money to pay my rent, and for me it's basically like any job. Like if you work in a shop and if you don't earn enough money from it, say perhaps if you get fired, then you don't have the money to pay your next rent and then you get kicked out. So basically it will be the same with me. If I don't earn enough money, then I might get kicked out. But I have a house and I have family.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. I've got my 4 children, British, born in Wellsgrave. And obviously, I'm so happy. I want my children to be study in this country. I'm not coming here to make money, to be like everybody is very rich or stuff like that. I come here to look after my life, to enjoy my life with my kids, with my family, with my partner, obviously, because my partner, she's the mother for the kids. And obviously, I'm happy. Me and my partner and my children, I'm so glad. I'm so very happy. What I get, I need to be happy. Thanks God, as everything is wonderful.
I do try to save money because I try and send some for my kids as well. I've got bank accounts for them, so I'll just put as much as I can in. You know, I can't put loads in, but you know, I put a little bit. They don't know about it, but when they're all like Ryan, he's 19, but when he's 21, he'll know. And when the rest is like 18, Ellie Mae and Ethan, when they're 18, they'll know about it. That one's Ryan with me. He was 5 then, so that was 14 years ago. I got my dog beside me, Zara, and Ellie Mae when she's 6 months old. I say she's 16, coming up to 17 now. I'll never lose that. I can tell how old the photo is. Bless them. Who would like to buy a big issue, please? Come and help the homeless today. Come and treat yourself, ladies and gents. Like to buy a big issue, madam?
For Ricky, the hope to get back his normal life hasn't gone away.
My dream is to get into my own flat again and to get, as I say, a job first, but then get a career where it's going to be, you know, lasting until I retire. But a job, it can be a job that you don't know, they could go bankrupt or it could end anyway. But a career.
What job do you want to do?
At the moment, I wouldn't mind being a van driver, but I wouldn't mind being a roofer again. I've done so many jobs. I've got a forklift licence. I've got MVQ 1, 2 and 3 in paint and decorating, 1, 2 in gardening, 1, 2 in bricklaying. I've got a forklift licence, a full clean driving licence. I've worked in telesales. I've worked in factories. I've done so many jobs. But I say I wouldn't mind doing a van driver at the moment, but then get back into roofing. But then a career after that. Property developing, sorry. I've had that on my mind. Property developing. I'd love to do that. But get a portfolio where you've bought so many houses and you've sold so many and you're renting so many. But then after a couple of years, design and build my own house. That would be my ideal job, property developing.
For Bianca and John, building a stable future for their children continues to be their priority.
I was trying to be like a teacher, obviously, to teach kids about the history. I would like to, to tell them what's happening.
Are you educated?
No, I was not educated, but I'm from the countryside, so obviously I would like to explain to the kids about the countryside, how to support the animals, how to look after the animal proper. Hi, mate.
You still have this
Hello, love.
dream, if you can say that?
Well, I don't know, obviously, because I've got 4 children now, and obviously it's very difficult for me to get to get educated, to get education. But I can explain to my kids, and obviously my kids will get education, because obviously they're going to school, 2 of them, they're going to school. So I will happy to my children to understand everything.
I'm hoping if I can manage, maybe one time, even like this, it feels like home for me. And I have been here for 16 years. I know that I won't be able to stay here for the rest of my life because there will be changes, but my dream is when I get older to have a really small corner shop and working there, and hopefully maybe one of my kids works there. But I'm not sure if it's going to happen because my daughter, she wants to be a doctor when she grows up, and my son wants to be a police guy. So you never know what future brings.